see the prevalence of these kinds of mass shootings in this country. And I think so many Americans sometimes feel as if there's nothing we can do about it. We are fortunate to have an extraordinary combination of law enforcement and intelligence and military that work every single day to keep us safe. But we can't just leave it to our professionals to deal with the problem of these kinds of horrible killings. We all have a part to play.
All right, I'm not sure what the part I or you might play in preventing this apparent act of terror, but the president in that statement at the Oval Office also made it clear that we don't know what happened. We don't know what the motivation was. Joining us now is Noah Rothman, assistant online editor of Commentary magazine, and Rick Ungar, senior political contributor with Forbes.com and co-host of Steele and Ungar on Sirius XM. All right, Noah, yesterday, before the bodies were even counted, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and others started talking about the NRA and guns. Obama today, just moments before reports came out from CNN that we know that this guy was radicalized, Obama sits there and says, we don't know what happened. And then he goes into this whole gun spiel and went on to talk about our legislature and what responsibilities it has. This just doesn't stop.
Yeah, I don't think gun control advocates know precisely how much damage they're doing to themselves and their credibility by seemingly being unable to tailor their message to the moment. They have one message, they have a hammer, everything's a nail, and they're now turning on to expressing real frustration and anger with voters, average people who just disagree with them. And the evidence for that was yesterday laid bare in this really bizarre tantrum against people who offer prayers and thoughts for victims of violence, as though that's something that you do in lieu of activity or it's mutually exclusive. It was really strange. It's offensive, it's rude, and it reflects some sort of a meltdown on the part of the left because they're just not getting what they want.
Well, Rick, I know you agree, but I want to put up the Daily News cover today, which is exactly what you're talking about. And here they're mocking, God isn't fixing this, and they mock 4 Republican presidential candidates who offered their prayers and thoughts. Rick, just again, an out-of-touch left.
I got to say, I really actually do agree with Noah. There's a few points I'd make in this regard. Number one, you take a big political risk when you go that route of getting into the gun conversation, and it turns out 24 hours later that this was a terrorist act. We know the priorities. You don't want to be talking about gun legislation if it turns out to be terrorist. That's number one. Number two, it used to be that when something happened that was terrible, you offered your heart, your prayers, the condolences. Now they go straight to the gun thing. I'm a Democrat. I'm telling my party, very big mistake to do this.
Right, and let's talk about the media, Noah. We saw the Daily News cover, but it's all, you know, don't forget that the shooter of Planned Parenthood, it was assumed, it was confirmed, it was reported what his motives were, because there was a report that he mumbled "no more body parts" when he was arrested, and that was good enough for the media. We have, compared to that, a Mount Rushmore of evidence that this was jihad related, and all we hear is, we don't know yet.
Well, that was before we got all the... I think we had to be a little bit fair here. When the president spoke this morning, we did not know as much as we actually know now. I don't know what the president...
A half hour later, CNN knew, the president
it was a half hour
later. But
later,
let's talk about the media.
Yeah, we don't know what the president knew either. I think when it comes to the Planned Parenthood shooter, if he'd have shot up a post office, you would have been able to peel out from his rhetoric logic and motive for shooting up that post office. The guy was really just kind of a crank. We're not really sure if he had a fully formed, really defined political ideology, because it seems like he was a little unhinged. What we're learning now about these individuals was they were actually a little bit more radicalized. They had a very defined political ideology. I'm not sure what the target just doesn't make a lot of sense when it comes to Islamic radical terrorism, but we do sort of know a motive. And when you compare these two motives, as far as these two shooters go, it's night and day. One is clear and obvious, and you don't have to do any ideological backflips in order to divine what the target was, what the motive was.
And Rick, all this talk that it could be some combination of workplace violence and with a jihad influence. So in other words, that becomes one of John Kerry's understandable terrorist attacks?
Well, hopefully not, because that was a silly comment. But I do want to point this out, because I'm concerned about this.
All right, we're going to pick this up when we come back. Not to interrupt, but we'll pick this up when we come back. More of the Malzberg panel on the other side. But first, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow, America Talks Live is back. Hosted by me, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to participate, be a part of the action, jot this number down. It's the number you could call into and come on the air with me and talk about the terror attack in California or whatever. 877 Newsmax. Call a little before 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And if you want to do a video, and maybe we'll play it on the air, go to newsmaxusa.com. All right, back with more of the panel, Noah Rothman and Rick Ungar. And before the break, Rick was going to weigh in on media coverage of this shooting as compared to the Colorado Planned Parenthood shooting. Rick?
Yeah, the point I wanted to make, I actually take Steve's point on the media's willingness to jump a little quickly in how they were defining the shooter in Colorado. However, we've learned a lot more about him since. We've learned about other things he's done involving Planned Parenthood. We certainly at this point know as much about what his motives could have been as we do in San Bernardino. So the point that
what do we know about his motives?
Oh, we know that he once went and glued the locks at a Planned Parenthood office so that nobody could get in. We do know more of his rhetoric. There's been testimony on it now. There is every reason to believe that this guy was motivated by a belief. His belief that what was happening in Planned Parenthood was a very bad thing. So my only point I want to make, if you're going to criticize the president, and I think it's okay to criticize him, I criticize him for not using the words radical Islamic terrorism when terrorism is done by radical Islam. Then you have to be willing to stand up and say when another religion is involved in a person.
No. Wait. What does this religion have to do with it? I'm Jewish. I think what Planned Parenthood did was abhorrent. It was disgusting. It was vile. Did he do it in the name of Jesus?
Well, you tell me. If
you tell me. You're the
Bible,
expert, apparently.
Well, I don't think I'm more of an expert than anybody else, but I will say this. If somebody, based on their religion, thinks that something is abhorrent and decides to take it in their own...
How about based on decency?
Excuse me.
Decency.
You asked me. I think I'll finish. And if you take it upon your hands to kill people out of that belief, you're going to kill people out of decency.
And you know that it's based on his religion. You know that.
We do know that at this point.
How?
As much as we know...
How
do you know that it was religion in San Bernardino, Steve?
Because he was radicalized
and
into
so
radical
is this
Islam.
guy.
If I may,
You're making my point.
Do you even know what religion he was?
Yes, I do.
What specifically? What?
He was a Christian.
And what denomination?
What's the difference?
Oh, what's the difference?
Oh, excuse me. What denomination of Islam was this guy? Was this guy a
radical?
Wahhabist?
Hey.
Excuse me. Was he a Wahhabist?
Noah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think we're getting into the weeds here. The distinction here is that...
Let Noah go.
Here's the distinction, guys. There was a really tortured effort to turn this Planned Parenthood shooter into the leading edge of a spear. He was going to be the point tip of a vanguard. What we have in San Bernardino is part of an ongoing offensive of which we've been involved in for several years, and we don't want to call it as much. And it has a base of operations in Syria and Iraq. That's the difference. We're engaged in a war. They really want to make a war out of Planned Parenthood.
What leading edge of a spear is this guy in Colorado supposed to be? Not the first time that somebody's been murdered for their involvement with Planned Parenthood, so I don't follow that at all.
There's no organized effort. There's no worldwide jihad, if you will, after abortion clinics.
Actually,
any individual act that's taken place is abhorrent, and they should be punished to the fullest extent of the law.
You agree with that?
What's more, there's a desire to elevate this into a military threat, a geopolitical threat. When there is a real geopolitical threat, we do everything we can on the left to downplay it.
Right, absolutely correct.
I don't even know what that means. I swear I don't.
You don't.
No, because there is indeed an organized effort. They're called the Warriors of God that have.
And what have they done over the last 20 years?
What
have they done?
They've killed physicians of
They have
Planned
this. Oh,
Parenthood.
so this man was a member of that group?
I didn't say that.
Then who was?
Why are you working so hard to avoid?
Because you're
calling
talking
this guy a terrorist?
nonsense.
Really?
You're comparing an organized worldwide jihad that's killing us every day with an aberration who you claim is a Christian.
Have you read the definition of terrorism in the statutory code?
You're indicting Christianity
No, I'm not.
when this has nothing to do with Christianity.
Why am I
Jewish,
indicting
and I
Christianity?
think it's abhorrent.
Are you indicting Muslims when a terrorist
I'm
acts
indicting
that way.
radical Islam
Yes,
and those who
I'm
support
not-
it.
And I am indicting a radical anything who kills people. I am not indicting Christians. That's the argument people make, and it's nonsense. I love Christians. My wife's a Christian. My children are Christians. But you know what? If you commit murder in the name of your belief,
did not. He
it's
did not.
a terrorist. Yes,
I
he
haven't
did.
heard him.
Yes, he did.
It's very hard to
Noah,
see
did he do it?
how.
Wait,
exactly
Noah,
where
did
it
he?
proves it.
Did he, Noah?
It's just, well, I don't know. It's very hard to see
out,
how
right.
this is exactly the same.
And the
Allow
fact
me to
that you
finish,
don't
please.
know
It's
speaks
allowed-
volumes.
it's-
Noah
it-
and
it-
Rick, gotta
exactly.
go. Robert Spencer's next. Don't go away. But first, more than 80 million Americans make up the baby boom generation, and astoundingly, most have done little planning for their retirement. The Baby Boomer Survival Guide is here for boomers just like you to help prepare you for your retirement. This guide is packed with money-saving tips and valuable advice to grow and protect your wealth and health. For example, on page 59, you'll learn a simple trick to bump your Social Security payments up by as much as 25%. On page 83, you'll discover the 5 best states to move to with low taxes and fantastic health care. Page 198, reduce your Medicare copays while expanding coverage, and so much more. We're confident you'll instantly save over $1,000 in hidden tax deductions you didn't even know about. The baby boom generation can thrive in retirement, and this survival guide explains how. This book is available on Amazon and bookstores everywhere, but Newsmax has a remarkable free offer for the Baby Boomer Survival Guide, and it's available right now. Simply visit the website on the screen or call us toll-free at 800-779-5682 and check out the free offer. That's 800-779-5682. You have nothing to lose, and you could profit big time.